Welcome back. Now I'm going to be speaking to Mr. Haider Ali, who's the CEO of a sports management company called Strawberry Sports Management. And his main goal, his core goal, is to bring sports and promote sports and to make it a part of people's lives. I mean, many people say that Pakistan is a sports crazy country, but let's face it, now we're just cricket crazy. A number of sports, in fact, almost every other sport except cricket is on the periphery, like hockey, which is our national sport, and we used to be amazing at hockey. We won so many trophies, so much silverware in hockey that it's just so unfortunate the way things have gone down. And other sports like kabaddi, volleyball, and what have you, they barely even get a look in. So it's very important that we look to promote sports on the periphery as much as possible. And that's exactly what the CEO of Strawberry Sports Management, Haider Ali, is trying to do. Haider Ali, great to have you on.
Thank you so much.
Before we talk about what you're doing, and specifically what you're doing, trying to promote these sports, why did you decide to get into this?
Actually, Ali, first of all, thanks for having me on your show. The first thing that really touched my heart in terms of sports was I was a kid. I was afforded the opportunity. I hail from a family where I was afforded this opportunity of having great sporting facilities. So right from the word go, I was introduced to different games. Then I joined Cadet College Hassan Abdal, where you're also exposed to a lot of different sports.
Right.
And then I came to the corporate sector and then got into the run of the mill, but the sports never left me. And when I looked at the way you have introduced, I think we as a nation, as Pakistan, offer so much to the sport. And I have seen those times when we had different sports like hockey, like snooker, and many other games came to the fore. And they were a moment of pride for the entire nation. So that there was that time when I thought that this is the time that we should take this thing forward professionally and bring out to the fore what really is important for the country, is that bringing the sportsman spirit in the form of different sports. So that was the time when I decided that we should professionally take it on.
I mean, there are a number of things that one can work on within this field, but I mean, we were talking a little bit about this off air, and you said what you want to do, one of the many things you're trying to do, is trying to bring sports back into people's lives.
Yeah.
That's also very important.
That's very important. I'll just give you a couple of, if you consider just two separate frames. These are just very small stories. If you consider a game which is played in 35 countries, which has a history which goes back to prehistoric times, it is played by so many nations and has an on-sport viewership which is much more than cricket. Park it somewhere, this is just one frame. The other frame is a story about a small boy who was like 11 years old. He lives in a small village in Punjab, and his father asks him to give him a lending hand in terms of whatever he's doing in terms of farming and stuff. And he agrees to that on the basis that he also carries on with that particular sport that he was so excited about. Take 15 years forward. This is a guy who is revered in all of these 35 countries, goes out and plays different leagues. The name of this guy is Shafiq Ahmed Chishti. He is the national captain of the team. Do we, Ali, as people in urban centers and metropoles, even know his name? The answer is no. And the game I'm referring to is Kabaddi. So these are the kind of things that really were the instigator behind these living legends to the fore.
Look, I'll be honest with you. I do a sports show, and I know cricket like the back of my hand. I'm not going to lie. Other sports like Kabaddi, for example, I just learned the rules of Kabaddi. I'm just telling you the truth. Yeah,
sure.
I know, and of course, football, English Premier League football, La Liga football, I think is more popular among certain segments of society, especially in the cities, than Kabaddi, or even hockey, which is our national sport. Which is why it's so important that people like you come to the fore and try to promote this as much as possible.
I totally agree with you, Ali. I couldn't agree with you more, because I think what I see all around me is just the nation being crazy about one sport at the time. Our experience, the empirical evidence from across the border tells us that the viewership of a particular sport or multiple sports is not a zero-sum game. So if we consider IPL, the rise of IPL, as the IPL grew, you had the Pro Kabaddi League coming in, but the numbers of Pro Kabaddi League are phenomenally growing. Has it affected IPL? No, it has not. So the answer is that the nation is starved of lots of entertainment, it's starved of quality entertainment, and sports offers that. Sports is that platform where even corporates can have their marketing done through a platform which is very potent.
No, because I mean, the main indication is that your national sport is now on the periphery.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody really pays that much attention to hockey, even though the talent is there. Nobody. We used to really like it. I mean, we used to really care about it in the 70s and the 80s and even the early 90s, but now it's really deteriorating. And hopefully it'll come up. I mean, people are trying very hard. So I was just thinking, if hockey is struggling so much, what chance does kabaddi or wrestling or volleyball have?
Yeah, I think, Ali, what we need to do is, and that's the path we are taking, is a multi-pronged approach. On one end, we are trying to promote and very tastefully design what we call the sports leagues. These are private sector-led events. On the other end, we are also trying to do the talent scouting. So I'm under no impression that these sports leagues will actually solve the problems overnight, be it hockey, be it kabaddi or any other sport. So you need to work on these things. The second thing is we have to understand the multiple stakeholders involved.
Okay.
It is, I think, very naive to give a one-liner that these stakeholders haven't performed. Our experience so far of dealing with federations, of dealing with the corporate has been very encouraging. And I think one of the important things is that we are trying to make some changes in the lives of these sportsmen right at the grassroots level. I think that's a step forward. You concentrate on players, you concentrate on their development, and all these people, including the corporates, would rally behind you.
Right, you can't leapfrog your way into things. You have to go step by step. I understand what you're saying. I think from what I gather, is that you're actively looking to engage the private sector, the corporate sector, but at the same time, you're not ignoring the federation.
Absolutely. Sports league, for them to be successful, it is absolutely important that you have a very immaculate relationship with the sports federations. In our case, the federation, the Kabaddi Federation, is the technical collaborator. So they are giving us the players pool. The departments that support them are also needs to be lauded. On the other end, the corporate sector. Again, the one-liner that I hear before entering into this particular field is that the corporate is not excited about anything other than cricket. Well, that's true to some degree, but at the same time, our interaction with them actually made us very clear that when you bring out a very powerful and a genuine story, we are at times looking at putting things in boxes.
Right.
Our interaction with corporate is that they're also a bunch of human beings like us. I mean, being fair, we have worked on the other side of the corporate for decades. And so when they hear the story, when they hear the stories of people like Mr. Chishti going from rags to riches, these are the stories that the corporate is interested in. And that is what we are trying to mainstream here.
Right, let's talk about Kabaddi right now. You're setting up an event in March.
Yeah.
I understand, a Kabaddi League in March. Now, I mean, tell us, how popular is Kabaddi in the cities? It's not very popular, I'm sure. Yeah. But in the rural areas, is it still as popular as it used to be?
Yeah, Ali, I mean, Kabaddi is such a great find for me, but on a personal level.
Tell us why.
I visited a few matches as well in the suburbs, and the atmosphere is just electric. And I think it would be an understatement to say the crowds would be anything above 30,000. And I was fascinated by the crowd and the atmosphere. And I asked the organizers, I mean, what kind of a PR and marketing, I use that corporate lingo, that you have done. And he was like that we have done only a few weeks of local cable TV channel sort of marketing, and that's about it. So it's extremely popular. It's a crowd puller. People understand that, people play that, and they love their players. So yeah, it is very relevant.
Right, so tell us about the response you've got so far. Has there been a little bit of hesitation, or have you mainly got positive responses? It
has been a mixed bunch, I must confess. I think there are organizations who would sit on the fence, who would look at how things shape up, but then there are those who would stick their neck out and put their money where their mouth is. So we are very lucky to have those partners with us, and the league is inshallah happening in March. We have got what you require in terms of putting things together, and so the response from the corporate sector has largely been very encouraging.
Right, now let's get specific here. Yeah. It's going to happen in Lahore?
It's going to happen in Lahore.
I understand.
Season 1.
So now, what are your plans to market it? It needs reach. You talked a little bit about marketing, but we need to be specific here, because that's something, let's face it, we're not very good at.
Yeah,
We're very bad at marketing our products. Like, we have to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely.
Without being honest, you're not going to improve.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how do you intend on doing that?
See, we need to work on multiple levels. The plan is that in December, there is going to be the logo unveiling of the tournament itself, of the event itself. Along with that, we would also have the media partners with us. And then comes the team owners. Once the team owners are in place, we are going to have the draft day in January. The draft day would be done on similar basis as you are familiar with PSL and IPLs and Pro Kabaddi League, that there will be 6 teams named after the various cities of Pakistan.
6?
6.
Okay, all right.
And the players for all the rest of the year are actually working with various departments. But for this tournament, every year, they will get subsumed into these 6 teams. And people of Pakistan can actually rally behind the cities that they support.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, the same way sort of India promote their Kabaddi League. And one thing they're very good at, and we have to admit, is make these guys into heroes. It's not only their cricketers that are heroes, they're tennis players, they're Kabaddi players, chess players. So, you know, there's no problem in taking a leaf out of their book sometimes, because that's something that they do well.
Absolutely. We have our eyes on the best practices in the region and also on the globe. To give you a very pertinent example, that the National Championships of Kabaddi happened recently in Islamabad. And we went out and we attended all the matches with the players. Guess what? Their basic record keeping was something that we found that we need to work on. Now we have their great profile pictures. We have their stories, their records put all in one place, something that needed to be done. So it's taking those small steps, Ali, and taking it forward. And then we cannot also ignore the times we live in. Digital and social media has a lot of impact.
Crucial, absolutely crucial.
So we have a formal digital and social media campaign that we are going to kick off in December. And the idea is that at masses,
This December.
Okay. It's a crowd puller. But we also want to tap that particular bit of the society, if you would, that is not familiar with the game. And that starts with very commonsensical small steps. Like we are developing a small video in which people living in metropoles or who are not familiar with the game would be acquainted as to what are the rules of the game.
Just a couple of more questions before we end, because we're running out of time.
Yeah.
Where do you expect your company, Strawberry Sports Management, to be in the next 5 years? How much of an impact do you expect it to make, realistically?
Realistically, I think the response we got in the first year is beyond our own comprehension, because I think we received a lot of encouragement from all the stakeholders. In 5 years' time, we see ourselves as part of the Pakistan story. I would turn that around and say that I expect Pakistan to be having multiple sports leagues. I also expect Pakistan to have a much balanced narrative about sports, to say the least, that has more games stacked up.
Not just cricket, that's what you're trying to say.
Yeah. And the other thing, last but not the least, number of local players and legends being the heroes of our kids and our next generation. That is what I am looking at.
Now, this is probably the first question I should have asked you, but I'm just really curious. Why strawberry?
Yeah, actually, I think this is interesting. Thanks for asking that.
Yeah.
Actually, we were thinking of something which so strawberry is one of those few fruits that actually give you instant energy. If you look at tennis players and squash players, they would actually peel off a banana or would be chewing a strawberry. So that is one of the sports that gives instant energy to sportsmen. The other thing, if you notice, is it has its seeds outside it, which actually talks about, and that gives us that the relatability, that our story is not our story. Our story is not complete without spreading out what we know. It's the story of Pakistan. Absolutely. So that is what we thought that kind of reflects what we are trying to do, the mission that we are trying to do.
It's very, very clever, actually.
Thanks for that.
We have to leave it at that. Haider Ali, thank you very much for coming to the show and
thank you so much,
to us. I learned a lot, and I hope you keep coming on and talking to us.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Pleasure having you.